you can see, I use a scooter, and so I need accommodations. I need the stool. Sometimes I also feel like I need pain pills. But my doctor's getting really stingy with the refills. You have to be creative these days. So then I noticed that the pills that the vet gives my dog, same ones my doctor gives me. Yeah, you get it. Now, I didn't know if it was safe or not, but I took some. And I don't know if there's a difference in the human and the canine formula, but since I started taking those dog pills, my husband's ass has never smelled better. It's delightful. Although now my vet thinks my dog has a drug problem, so no. I see we're drinking tonight. Yeah, having fun? Yeah. I like to drink. I like alcohol better than marijuana. I know that's controversial around here. And I got nothing against weed. It's legal. Do what you want. But how many times in one day does a person need to lose their keys? At least when I'm drinking, the only thing I forget is that I'm married. Hey. That is not my husband's favorite joke, by the way. It's not. But it's okay. Like, he knows I'm a flirt, so if we go out together and he has to go to the bathroom or something, he just puts a coaster on my head. It's his way of saying, that's mine, don't put anything in it. Right? I hear this collective, oh. I didn't get married till I was 49 years old. I know, yeah, it's unusual to get married that late in life, but the old saying, always a bridesmaid. When you're a hoe. Now, I stayed single for so long because I was really good at it, but I did learn some stuff from being single for so long. One thing that I learned was how to weed out the bad guys. Because, a lot of times, if you're single, you might keep picking the wrong people. So I have a foolproof way to weed them out, and it's yawning. Yeah, well, you know how yawning is contagious? They did a study and they found that psychopaths and sociopaths don't do that. Yeah, they don't yawn when other people yawn because it's an empathetic response and they don't have any empathy. So if you're single, next time you go on a date, just pretend to yawn. And if they don't yawn, keep your panties on. Just make that your motto. It'll be the one time that faking it is beneficial to you. It's true. But I have a nice husband now. My husband likes to play disc golf. Yeah, and if you're not familiar with disc golf, it's kind of what a bunch of stoner white dudes go out into the woods and they throw disc into baskets, right? Yeah. Yeah, but my husband came home one day and he said that he almost got in a fist fight at a disc golf tournament. Now, mind you, my husband plays in the over 50 division, okay? But apparently there was some guy named Don Clark that was not following the tournament rules. And my husband is a rule follower, so he said something to him. And then Don Clark said, "We're getting tired of you bossing everybody around." And then my husband said, "Well, F you." And then Don Clark said, "F you." And then they both squared up. But then I think they both realized that they had arthritis. So nobody threw any punches. And I was so glad, because you know how pissed I would be if my husband caught a charge because of a Frisbee? Here I'd be in some a prison widows Facebook group, And her husband's an embezzler, and hers is a bank robber, and mine got in a little tussle over a Hasbro toy. Do you know what that would do to my street cred, But then I noticed that my husband kind of started following this guy, and I would hear him, on the computer saying, "Oh, let's see where Don Clark is in the standings." One day I heard him say, "Don Clark spells his last name with an E. What a dick." So I'm like, I gotta see what this guy looks like, right? And he's just a middle-aged man with a buzz, flat-top haircut. Looks like a PE teacher from 1965. Nothing threatening. But I did notice something, and I said to my husband, "Oh, look, Don Clark has a really nice yard." Oh, yeah. He started mumbling and grumbling, and then he put his shoes on, but he went out and mowed the lawn. Yeah. I'm like, I think I found the secret formula, you know? And pretty soon here, Mrs. Clark's gonna get a brand new car, all right? But then I thought, like, does it work the opposite way, you know? What if I say, honey, I bet Don Clark couldn't go down on his wife for an hour. We're gonna try that next, so, yeah. I got okay boomered the other day. Oh, yeah, I don't know if you guys all know about this, but younger people are tired of us older people shit. I get it, right? And I said something, and I didn't mean anything. I don't even remember what it was, but they rolled their eyes at me and said, "Okay, boomer." Well, I don't need a lecture from someone who thinks Fleetwood Mac is a person. And they always have some dumb name like Kyler, you know. But Kyler hasn't lived my life. He hasn't been through what I've been through. Kyler's parents never threw him in the back of a wood-paneled station wagon. They just tossed us in. There's no seat belts back there. We were sliding all over the place, but we were happy as clams. We're back there going like this to truck drivers, waving at policemen and pedophiles. Then our parents took us to the store to buy candy cigarettes so we could go home and practice smoking, right? Yeah. I bet Kyler never had to look for a quarter so he could go to a payphone to call his drug dealer. That's how you did it back in the day. You don't call the dealer from your house, and we were supposed to talk in code. I guess we thought the DEA wasn't smart enough to figure out what we meant when we said, "Is Mary Jane home tonight?" Dealer was always creepy. You know, always had a creepy pet, like a snake or a tarantula or a freaking ferret. But here's the deal. There's nothing that can be gained from the generations fighting, right? We need to learn to try to understand each other. Like, young people have done wonderful things, like the whole Me Too movement allowed a lot of people to be able to speak up, and that's important. But what young people don't understand is people my age, we've had to stop and rethink our whole lives. If I want to take an afternoon and lie back and reminisce about some past loves, when I look back now, they all seem a little bit rapey. Was he the one that got away or the one that got away with it? Is my husband my soulmate or just my most persistent perpetrator? Am I madly in love or do I have Stockholm Syndrome? I don't even know anymore. I don't know. But you know, it was a different time back then. We were taught we were supposed to tell a guy no, and they were supposed to talk us into it. It's true. And you know where we learned that? We learned that from our grandmothers. You ever go to your grandma's house and try to tell her you're not hungry? No. She's gonna give it to you. She's going to give it to you anyway, and Grandma's going to give it to you good, you know. But there's no point in being mad at Grandma this late in her life. You know, you can change the world by being your own kind of grandma when it's your turn. You know, be the kind of grandma where no means no. And it's going to be easy because nobody wants to eat your vegan hummus bullshit anyway. Now, they did a study, and they said that the young generation right now has less sex and goes on fewer vacations than all previous generations. Yeah, so Kyler can okay boomer me all he wants. He just needs to know he's getting out fucked by this old lady right here. It's true. I like younger men. You know, my husband is younger than me. So like last year I was watching TV and I saw Justin Bieber came on. He's cute. I just said, "Ooh, I'd like to mother him." And my husband said, "Well, just so you know, it takes 5 to 10 minutes. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then I realized he thought I said I'd like to smother him. Kind of funny until you realize that my husband knows how long it takes to smother somebody. No, but he's a good guy, you know. My husband's really kind, and he always has my back, and that's great. You know, if I go out with my friends and one of them hurts my feelings or something, and I text him and tell him about it, by the time I get home, he has totally planned their murder. He's got the weapon, the alibi, the whole thing all figured out. And I think it's kind of sweet that he has my back like that, you know? I mean, and it's kind of hot in like a Dexter sort of a way. But just once, I think, why doesn't he pay that much attention and put that much time and effort into planning date night? Right, ladies? Yeah. Because I'm getting a little tired of Arby's and anal, okay? It's getting a little harder for us to have sex now that we're getting older. Somebody's still laughing about Arby's and anal. No, but it's getting harder to have sex, mostly because we can't hear each other anymore. If my husband's down under the covers and I say move a little bit to the left, he'll just lift his head up and say, "What?" It's not very arousing. I tried to devise like a tappity-tap system for the top of his head. You know, thought I could spell out some words or something. He didn't get it. He's no Helen Keller, you know. And I looked into it. They do not make closed captioning for your private parts, so. But that's okay, you know, because I mean, you know, there are some things that kind of fall apart as you get older, but, you know, like, still at my age, you know, like my vagina's like a turtle. Like it might be old, bald, and ugly, but it can still snap, you know. Man, I hope you're going to be all right over there, Jesus. But mostly, like, we just have sex the married people way. You know, not like missionary, but like spoon. That way everybody gets to lay down, you know? And if you're a middle-aged couple and you hadn't thought of that yet, you're welcome, you know? But I try to mix it up every now and then, you know? I ordered one of those sex pillows, like it's a big triangular sex pillow, right? And it was supposed to be a surprise. But it arrived at our house when my husband was home and I was not. And so he called me and he said, "Your pillow came. It's all set up in the bedroom." And I was like, "Oh, great." And, you know, I get home. I think it's time for sexy time. And I went in the bedroom and he thought that it was a ramp to help our elderly dog get up on the bed. So now he's got to sleep with two old cranky bitches, all right? But still, like, we still go at it hard sometimes. Like the other night we were going at it, like he was hitting it so hard, my CPAP flew right off my head. But sometimes I just don't get it, though, you know? Like, my husband watches Ancient Aliens and Finding Bigfoot, but yet he thinks it's the female G-spot that's the myth. And I don't know why he can't find my G-spot, because at my size, it's probably more like an HIJK-LMNOP spot. I can't blame him. I don't know. My vagina's like an eclipse. It causes a lot of excitement, but you probably don't want to look directly at it. All right, thanks, you guys. You've been fun.